Welcome to Grammar 3C. In this book, we will be focusing on verb tenses. We will review dates and addresses. We'll go over more adverbs, and we will sentence diagram with a compound subject and an adverb. So let's jump into verb tenses. This should also be a review in this book from things you've learned in Grammar 1 and 2. So we're just going to do a quick overview. So first we're going to look at past tense. There are irregular and regular past tenses. So let's look at each one individually. First of all, past tense means the action has already occurred. It's already happened. So let's look at our examples. We have Mom cooked yesterday. Notice this is regular past tense. We only add ed to the end of the word to make it past tense. Now, let's look at irregular. Here we have Mom beat the eggs earlier. Notice that you don't add an ed. Each of these words is going to follow its own rule. We have a reference list in the back of this book, so be sure to look at that if and when you need it. Now we're going to look at present tense. When you have present tense, that means the action is happening right now. And this also has a couple of different ways of going about it. So the first one is Mom cooks now. Mom is our subject and it's singular. So to make the verb present tense, we add an S to the end of the word. Whereas when we have a plural subject with she and I cook now, we don't add the S to the end of the verb. Now we're going to look at future tense. Future tense means that the action will happen later. So our example sentence is, Mom will cook later. Now please note that in this book and in the next couple of books, you will see will and shall used. So make sure that you understand that shall is synonymous with will when you are making the future tense. Now let's look at this a little closer to make sure you're not getting confused with helping verbs and adverbs. So I'm going to blow up this, and here we have Mom will cook later. Notice that will cook is our verb, and then later is our adverb. So will always be a verb, and later and other words like that are adverbs describing the verb. Will never be an adverb. Now we're going to look at adverbs that tell us when. So first we're going to look at a basic example where we have my mom often travels. We have our subject and verb, which are usually going to be the easiest things for you to identify. So you want to try and do those first. So we have mom underlined and travels double underlined. And then we have my and often. Often is describing travels. Often describes when my mom travels. Now let's look at one more sentence. Here we have Esther seldom travels alone. Once again, we're going to start with our easiest things to find first, which is the subject and the verb, Esther and travels. And now we want to identify our adverb or adverbs. So here we have the words seldom and alone left. Now, if you've never seen the word seldom before, it means rarely or not often. But if you are in a book and you see a word like seldom that you are not familiar with, make sure you're looking in the dictionary so you can understand what these words mean. So seldom means rarely, which means that seldom describes when Esther travels. She not often travels. So then we are going to look at alone, and that is also describing travels. Alone is describing how Esther travels alone. So that is going to be the basics for the adverbs in this one. And now we're just going to go over sentence diagramming with compound subjects and adverbs, and then we'll be just about done. So here we have our sentence, Herbert and Oshni run daily. So here we are going to find our subject and verb first, because when you want to diagram and you're a little confused as to what to do first, it's always good to underline it and double underline and just identify everything. So here we have our subjects underlined and our verb underlined, or double underlined. And then let's just go ahead and label and, which is the conjunction. That one's pretty easy. And now we just have daily left. And that is going to be our adverb describing run. It's telling us when do they run. So let's go ahead and start up our diagram. So this is what you're going to use for a compound subject. This should look very familiar as you have diagrammed with it before. And then you still want to go ahead and put in that baseline for our verb. And of course, you're going to bisect the subject and the verb, the subject and the predicate. That's very important. And of course, we have an adverb, so we're going to have a line diagonal coming off of the verb. So let's fill in the blanks. We have our subjects, Herbert and Ashni, on those blanks. And then we have our conjunction and the little triangle. And then we're going to put in our verb after that bisecting line, run. And then, of course, our adverb is describing the run. So we are going to have that as an offshoot from the verb. And that will be daily. And that's how you will diagram a compound subject and adverb. If you have any other questions about this book or any other grammar-related questions, be sure to contact the person who grades your grammar.